What's up, everybody? This is A-Uno.
And this is Tani.
And this is the
Weekly 100. So, we're back again. Thank you for joining us for our second show.
Absolutely.
So, this week, we got a little thing going on in the news about little brown boys, and how there is no equivalent. So, let's say that little brown Johnny grows up with little white Johnny, right? In the same neighborhood. They're both affluent.
Johnny, white Johnny.
That's right.
All right.
They're both affluent. They both have families that are well-to-do. And they both have equal access to wealth. Okay? 63% of the little brown boys are going to class down. They're going to either be the middle or the lower class, as opposed to only 36% of little white Johnnies are going to be middle or lower class.
That's a huge difference.
It's a big difference.
Almost double.
It is. And we start to wonder why. Well, a study from, I think it was the Washington Post, says that the little brown boys have more obstacles than the little white boys. And we know this. I mean, we know this from experience.
Absolutely.
But we know this just from history.
Yeah.
Because when you see a little brown boy and you see him doing things that are negative, you attribute that to that's just the way he is. You know, he is predispositioned to be violent. He's predispositioned to be, not as smart. Right. He's predispositioned to not have as much intelligence as his white counterpart. Right. When you look at the little white boy who may do the same thing, you look at it, it's like, boys will be boys. He'll grow out of it. He'll be fine. Right. So the perception is different. And that perception is proving to be really detrimental to our little brown boys as they grow up, because they're just being boys just like their white counterparts. However, they're being judged as being more violent, more prone to being a delinquent, and they are pretty much considering them or destining them to delinquency.
Right, and for them to write that article, this is not anything new.
Right.
And speaking from personal experience, it's like anybody in the inner city that grew up, in the inner city, they know always. Just look at the test scores for neighboring cities and counties. Totally different. Opportunities are different. Even if you have a black boy and just say a white boy that's in the same district, who do you think is going to have the better opportunity? And a lot of people don't want to admit to that or say, oh, that's true. Oh, you're just using that race card, but it's true. And for somebody like the Washington Post to say it, thanks for catching up, but it's been going on, but you just never had that voice to say, why do you think they have affirmative action? Because it's been in this existence. It's already facts that already been out in the open.
What they're finding is that it's not just, if these are comparable wealth in educational areas, the parents have comparable wealth.
Right.
So what you're looking at is just purely how society views these little boys. Right. And these aren't men yet. So they don't have a track record. They don't really have anything that you can really judge them by. It's purely based on what you see when you see them coming. Yeah. Or, what you think about when you see their skin color. Yeah. It's purely based on that, because they both come from really good families. They both come from families that are wealthy. Right. But they still don't have the same opportunities. Absolutely. So when you start to think about equating people, okay, you find someone who they have wealthy parents, and they might be brown. That doesn't mean that they're on the same level as someone who may not be brown and have wealthy parents. It's just not the same. They have way more opportunities here on the non-brown side that you don't have on this side. Right. And they don't have this judgment that you typically have when you are a little brown boy. Right, that you don't necessarily know that you have. I think that when you grow up privileged, when you grow up on the other side of racism, when you grow up and you are normally exposed to people who aren't really judging you based on your skin color, you don't know that exists until you really grow up.
And get out there and
you become an adult, you get out there in the world, you finally get pulled over, and it's like, wait.
It didn't take me long to get there.
It's me and you,
16.
it's you and me.
16.
First and you start realizing that it's not equal. You know, and it's not like it's you know, you don't have to be blatantly, you don't have to be beat, you don't have to be Rodney King to see the disparity. Right. There is a disparity, there's a clear disparity. We have to acknowledge that. And so this study is basically acknowledging that even though brown boys and white boys they grow up the same, still more likely to be incarcerated, still more likely to be poor.
So they're saying in the same income bracket, black family or black boy, white boy, same income, same school, same neighborhood, next door neighbor. They're saying that these two don't have the same opportunities, and they're 63% black, 36% for the white boys.
Yeah.
That, wow.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Which is terrible, because you think about it, you expect, if you do well for yourself and your kids grow up in that society, your expectation is that they're going to have an advantage. Right. They're going to be ahead of their counterparts who maybe grew up poor. Right. That's the whole point of working toward wealth, is because you want your kids to have an advantage and to be at this higher place than if you didn't do all of that.
Right, different opportunities, and no matter the amount of money or success that you gain, you still have that barrier there.
Yeah, it's the race war.
Exactly, and it exists.
It definitely does.
And it's sad that from that young age, that you have to experience that.
They do. And they need to be aware that it exists.
Right.
So it's really, it's disheartening, but it's also eye-opening, because it's not all about the money, folks. Yeah. Like, it's not just about how much you make, how much money you have. You can have a very affluent family and they have kids, and those kids are still going to face the modern day racism that they would face if they weren't part of an affluent family. And I think that's important to note. As we get further away from the Jim Crow days and we start to try to assume that racism doesn't exist, we have to understand that it still does exist. We have to understand that those barriers that were there years ago, they still exist. They're just a little more subtle. Right. They're harder to get over because you can't really prove it.
Right. Not saying that everybody is racist or anything like that.
Of course not. Of course not.
The assumption that you are up to no good, the purse clutching syndrome. Across the street. Yeah. I've had that happen to me.
I know you have.
Plenty of things, plenty of stories I can tell you with experiences related to that.
Yeah, of course.
So, it's unfortunate, but
it exists.
Still got to power through.
We can't turn a blind eye to modern day racism because it does exist. And that doesn't mean that the world is horrible. There are really good people out there in every race. True. And there's really bad people out there in every race. Exactly. And so you have to acknowledge that those stigmatisms, they still exist. Right. And you have to acknowledge that they still take place in the workplace. They still take place in schools. They still take place in everyday life. And so, this study is just, it really brings to light the fact that modern day racism is real, and modern day racism is something that you have to pay attention to. Right.
And maneuver, just not don't let it be something that hinders you. Just, acknowledge that. Take that knowledge and you maneuver around it. You move forward knowing that it may be a little more difficult for you, but that doesn't mean that it's impossible.
It's never impossible. So, I mean, you always have a choice. You can fight it or you can succumb to it. Right. And that's just real. And there's always going to be challenges, black, white, Asian. It's just, there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be somebody who challenges you. So, it's no different for any other race. We all have our challenges as minorities, and we have to be able to fight against those things and still succeed. And I think that we do a good job of that as a people. But this study was very eye-opening to show us that, that it is there's no such thing as being equal in today's age.
Right.
Maybe that's something that may come about as we go into the 2020s and the 2030s and 40s. Oh my God.
Yeah, I can't believe you saying that.
I know, right? And being an 80s baby myself, it's hard to even imagine that.
Right.
But it's true, as we get into these other decades, and as the world becomes more homogenized, we don't know what the world's going to look like. So hopefully this is something that we'll grow out of, and that's the only thing that we can hope for. But present day, it's still rough out here. It's not there. Racism is not dead. We can only hope for progression as we go forward into the further decades.
Yeah, and the design is too flawless. It's the design and the implementation of that design. It's not a mistake.
Yeah.
So those things, those studies, and continuous studies like that, you're just pulling information based off of what's going on. It's there. Like
it's
I said
real.
earlier, with the affirmative action. Wow, would you need that? What do you need that for?
To level the playing field, which does it? Because this study kind of sheds light on the fact that it's still not level.
Right.
It doesn't matter because people are still going to view you physically. They're going to look at you for who you are,
absolutely.
physically. And regardless of what's underneath that and what opportunities you have, you're still going to be viewed at face value. So that's unfortunate, but it's real. So I admire the Washington Post for even posting something like this because it does shed light on modern day racism, which is something that Get Out, the movie, touched on. I love Get Out.
That was a dope movie.
Yeah, that's
the
exactly
the concept of it, the way that it was carried out. When I first saw it, I'm like, wait a minute.
It was a thinker.
You had to
It
follow
was a thinker.
and it made so much sense at the end.
Yeah, that's what it was about. It was about modern day racism. And you have to really think about it.
Right.
It's not as overt as it was back in the Jim Crow days. It just wasn't. It isn't. And it is different now.
Yeah.
So you just have to be aware of that.
Right.
But on a certain topic related to that, let's talk about the racism we have within our own race. Let's talk about the black family and the black relationship and how black women view our black men, because this study kind of touches on how it's not equivalent black boys growing up the same as white. Okay? So that's been proven through studies. However, our black women still view our black men in comparison to white men, and we kind of try to put them on the same pedestal, like, hey, they can do this, why can't you do that? And the proof is you can't do that as easily as they can do that. So the whole idea of being equally yoked, I'm going to do the air quotes. I'm going to do the air quotes on that one because it's a term that people use a lot, to describe relationships. And it's like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't be with somebody who's not equally yoked. But do you really know what equally yoked means? And equally yoked is a biblical term. So we're going to get into our topic of
the week.
Focuses on the term equally yoked, what it really means, and how it is single-handedly destroying what we have in the black community as far as relationships go. Right. So let's go back and let's talk about what the term equally yoked means in the Bible. Equally yoked actually refers to Christianity and how you should not be with someone who doesn't believe in the same God that you believe in. Someone who maybe has a different faith, someone who doesn't believe. Right. That's what equally yoked actually comes from. I think it was Corinthians. And I'm sure that a lot of you will correct me if I'm wrong. But I believe that it is. And so what it talks about is not keeping friends, not keeping anyone around you who doesn't have the same beliefs that you have, Christian-wise. Mm-hmm. And so that's a far way from saying, you know what? You make $20,000 and I make $50,000. So you know what? I don't know if we're equally yoked.
Yeah,
you know I make more.
Yeah, that comes from a misunderstanding. Like I said, people throw those terms around, and they take what they want from the Bible and try to apply it to their life and say, "Oh, we're not equally yoked." Mm-hmm. Hey, I have Harvard degree and you're still in community college. This is not going to work. Things like that. Right. So that terminology, it's I just hate the way it sounds.
Yeah.
It's just, equally yoked.
What does it really mean? I mean, when you really think about it, because when you love someone, you don't think about how much they have financially. You don't think about where they are social-wise. Mm-hmm. You don't think about, the connections they have, where they are in society. You think about how much you care about them, their qualities as a person, their characteristics as a person. You don't think about their social status. Mm-hmm. So it starts to question, what is your real goal here? Equally Yoked in its history has nothing to do with what you feel about somebody's financial status. Right. Equally Yoked has everything to do with where you are on ideals. Yeah. And I think that's true. I mean, I feel like if you guys are so far apart on the things that really matter, like religion, that may not work. I mean, it works for many people.
It may be a deal breaker,
It could be. But it doesn't always have to be.
How invested are you in your religion or belief, how much does it matter to you? If I'm a Christian and you a Muslim, mm-hmm. How much does it matter to you? Are you really that devoted to your faith to say, oh, this is not
important? That's rough, because I feel like faith is something you have to be devoted to. Mm-hmm. You can't be halfway. Right. You can't be like, oh, I'm a Christian, but there's no but to that. So normally people who are devoted to their faith want somebody else who's devoted to their faith, and I'm fine with that. I'm not arguing that that's not okay. But I do take issue with the term equally yoked in regard to anything other than religion. Yeah. Because it was a religious term.
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
When, I've heard that thrown at me before.
Have you?
I've heard it before. Equally yoked. I said, what does that mean? What do you mean? We're breathing. I'm breathing. You're breathing, right?
Well, we must be equally yoked.
So, but the way that it was used, towards me and, others that I know, it had nothing to do with religion. It was based off your finances, status, goals.
Social status.
All that. Yeah. Materialistic things that had nothing to do with, your spirit and what your beliefs are. It had nothing to do with that. So why, on what scale are you measuring this yoke?
Right. What is this yoke all about?
What is that?
It goes against everything that the equally yoked term really came into play for. So, I think that we all use our religion to justify the things that we do, to make it seem more righteous. Mm-hmm. But we have to look within and see, what's the real reason why we're judging this person? Because judgment is something that any religion is not good. Right. But especially in the Christian faith, you normally aren't supposed to judge others.
Yeah, that's what they say.
That's what they say.
How many people really practice that, though?
I don't know, but this is one of those really big. This is one of the biggies, because equally yoked is not something that refers to anything other than Christianity and religion equity. Mm-hmm. That may not be the case either. I mean, you have people who are Christian and Muslim and they married.
Right.
And they happily married. Mm-hmm. So that's not necessarily to say that they can't work. But the term equally yoked, it refers to Christianity. It refers to being equitable on the religious turf. Exactly. So we need to be careful when we're throwing around these terms and trying to use the Bible in our own way to kind of defend what we feel about things that aren't really religious.
Yeah, you can't pick and choose what you're going to follow and go with and say, I don't like that one.
Yeah.
Okay. This one. Okay. Wait. We're not equally yoked. So let me take this. And then
you pick and choose the scripture that you want to follow.
This is my scripture, and I'm gonna go to church on Sunday, and then I'm gonna judge you on everything that you're not, and give you the reasons why we're not equally yoked. Yeah. You can't do that. You can, but
don't try to ground it in religion, because it's not. Right. And the term equally yoked is grounded in religion. Yeah. So, I opened up this topic for a very good reason, because I think in relationships we tend to judge the other person based on things that maybe we shouldn't judge them on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you think about what makes you happy in a relationship, it's very concrete. You know, these are the things that make you happy. A, B, C, D, E. And I think we tend to look at things that are a little bit more worldly and materialistic and say, hey, well, you know what? If maybe he was a little bit more cut up in here, maybe I would love him a little bit more. Or maybe if he handled his finances a little bit better, maybe I would love him more. Or maybe he would be
my business.
maybe he was a good partner, you know, in this way. And that just doesn't follow suit. Right. You know, it's not real. Those are things that we make up. Those are our own personal beliefs that there's nothing wrong with them, because there's nothing wrong with having these non-negotiables. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah, you don't have to not lower your standards by any means. You know, it's good to have those things and qualities that you like in the person, or the things that you need to satisfy you. But, you know, shoot for that. That's fine.
Yeah, but don't ground it in faith.
Right.
You know, and don't make it something that it's not. Make it your non-negotiable, and be firm in that, and be honest with the person that you're dealing with. You know, if we stay honest with people that we are dating, I think we have a lot more happy relationships, and we'll have a lot less struggles in relationships. Struggle ships are not a thing. I don't care what Instagram and Twitter says. Struggle ships, that's not a thing. Not in my opinion. It's not a thing. Because you're struggling, y'all not in a relationship, you know, so that's a no. I mean, everybody got issues. I'm not saying that you don't have no issues, but a struggle ship, if that's the foundation of your relationship, that's a problem.
Some people like that.
Alright, that's a problem. It's not long lasting.
They like the challenge.
That's not long lasting. They're probably not equally yoked.
They're not yoked. But yeah, like I said, that term, you know, it depends. What are you basing that off of? It depends on what you would feel is who's your match. You know, if it has nothing to do with their character, their religion, you know, it's gonna be a long, lonely road for you at the end of the day. You know, so you know, if you trying to really find somebody that care about you for you, and not what you got and what you bring to the table.
That's what it is.
So it's if you can't get past those things, it's really no substance there anyway. You know, it becomes more of a business at that point to me. An arrangement. You know, so you might as well put your ad out there on Craigslist right now. What your requirements are, how much you need to make a year, blah blah blah, or whatever dating site that you go on, and put those things in there.
Yeah.
And roll with that, but. You know, like I said, it's okay to have standards. That's perfectly fine. No one wants to struggle. No one wants to be.
Of course not. Even alone.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be struggling alone.
Stop making. Just open your mind, open your thoughts, and stop being so worried about materialistic things and finances. Because what's going to happen when they crash that dollar?
Let's hope they never crash that dollar.
Like, he got more cans of corn over here.
I got a little bit invested. I don't think I want them to trade. I don't think I want them to crash that.
Right.
But
so
y'all may not agree. So this concludes our topic of the week session.
All right.
And of course, there's plenty of topics that we can approach that are related to this, and there's plenty of opinions that you guys might have that may differ with ours. So please let us know. We're strong in our opinions, and I'm sure you're strong in yours. So let us know what you think. You can hit us up on Twitter. You can hit us up on Instagram, and you can email us. However you want to contact us, just do it. And we're open to hearing what you got to say, because this is a really big topic as far as relationships go, and it's a big issue in relationships. So let us know what you think. We're gonna put our handles here,
and we will have a part 2 coming up. Touching base on this topic again, because there's so many things to talk about. It's so many different aspects and points and points of view that we are going to discuss regarding that. So
how about we have a few guests? Some differing points of view. Let's get somebody on the show that may not necessarily agree with us. and we can talk about it. So we'll do that. Maybe the next show, maybe the one after that. But we'll have some people on here that maybe don't agree with our point of view here, and we'll have a discussion about it. But that does wrap our second show here, and let us know what you think. So again, we have our handles, and you can hit us up on Instagram or on, what is the other one?
Twitter.
I'm sorry.
Twitter.
You know, I'm old.
At Weekly 100 Show.
At Weekly 100 Show. Or you can hit us up individually, and again, we'll put our handles here. But let us know what you think. We really are interested in what you guys think about this. And it's a discussion. We want to know. Or anything else we had to say today. So this wraps our second show.
All right. Thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure. Hope y'all found this interesting and entertaining at the same time, and informative. Maybe it changed the way you think about relationships or religion.
Or equally young.
Or being equally young, Hey.
Yes, let us know. Maybe you didn't, and that's fine too. So let us know. But we're going to go ahead and close up here. So thank you for watching. Our second show is down. And let us know what you think about it. Good, bad, indifferent. We don't care. Just give us your honest opinion. And we'll see you on the next show.
All right. Take care.
All right. This is Tani.
And I'm A-Uno.
And this is the Weekly 100. All right, guys. See you next time.
Peace. It's the Weekly 100.